Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Soul Talks with Alka. Today I have a very special guest, Sarika Saxena. And Sarika, you are a powerhouse that I have always admired. And a little bit more so when I heard a little bit of her story, and I think I only got a tip of the iceberg. So I am not going to waste too much time in Sarika's introduction. I'm just going to let Sarika do all the talking. Welcome, Sarika.
So thank you for having me here, Alka, and thank you for picking me up and thinking that I can be part of your Soul Talks, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. So tell me a little bit about who you are. Who is Sarika Saxena?
I think I'm a very ordinary person, brought up in a middle class family with a little twist. With kind of different circumstances in my, upbringing. I had a special needs brother at home, and then, I have a special needs too. I have like a arm that is not fully functional. So, with a little twist, but I would say that, I'm a very middle class Punjabi girl. With a I should say North Indian girl.
Nice. And when you say that your brother had a disability, what do you mean? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So he was actually, he had pseudomuscular dystrophy, which means basically your muscles are, they degenerate as you grow up, and they live up to 21 years.
Oh, okay.
So with that, my parents were fully, always occupied with him. And then when you have a child with special needs at home, then the environment is very different at home, I would say. So it was very different. I mean, he after, when he was 10, he couldn't move, he couldn't walk. So
was he your older brother or younger?
My older brother. He was like 2.5 years older to me.
Okay.
So it was very different, but we shared a lovely bond. He was probably my best friend, and we had probably the best relationship one could think of. So I still cherish those times spent with him.
That's nice. And when you were born, were you diagnosed at birth with the disability in the arm?
So my story is kind of funny.
Okay.
I was not born with the disability, but I was a complicated delivery. And the doctor wasn't, experienced doctor. So she decided to pull me out rather than going for a C-section. So when I was pulled out, my shoulder was pulled.
Oh, okay.
So that's what happened. I should have been born normal, but it didn't happen because of the doctor's mistake.
Wow.
And back then my dad was a doctor, and they were friends, and suing was not common. And my parents decided to move on.
Got it. So now your mom and your dad have 2 kids, right? One has muscular dystrophy and one has a disability. What is your parents, in India or in any culture, one, they're going through their own feelings, then the society, right? Talk to me a little bit about that.
It is strange because, back then, most of the times they will think that it's women's fault. The problem is in women, right? She cannot give birth to kids who are normal, right? I would hear my relatives sometimes talking that, we should get him remarried,
For your dad?
Yeah, for my dad. And I would have that fear. What if my dad gets remarried? What will happen to us? And that was like a scare in me that, what if something like this happens? But that made me very strong. That made me to fight for my mom. That made me that, I'm going to fight these relatives, and I'm going to stand up for my mom, because my mom was she became very insecure.
Of course.
That, who will marry my daughter? Like in India, the biggest problem was who will marry my child.
Yes. One
child, I don't know whether that child is going to survive or not. And the other child is a question mark. Who's going to marry her? And in the background I come from, marriage was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So now she basically is not only fighting her internal situation, she's trying to save her marriage, and she's worried about her kids' future as well. So it was really, really environment that gives a child a lot of maturity.
Yes,
like you're
very quick.
very quick, and you're fighting for your sibling, you're fighting for your mother, and then you're keeping your relatives away. So I mean, it's an exposure that nobody should get, but it's an exposure I really value in my life.
Looking back.
Looking back, yes. Not back then.
Not back then. So when you're going through that phase, right, you're going through all these struggles, how is your mom handling this? And then how are you consoling your mom?
It took me a lot of time to figure out that my mom was in depression. I didn't even know that word existed.
Right. Most people in India back then
Yeah.
never even spoke about it.
Yeah, and then when I grew up, when I was in my high school, I figured out, okay, something is not right because my mom is constantly in tears. And then I figured out that, she's in depression, and I started to help her out. But I was too innocent back then, and I was too young to even understand her problems, and I couldn't help her that much. But when I went into my undergrad program or my master's, where I got more exposure and I got to learn, I started helping her out. I started trying to, basically I tried to become her best friend. Like, how can I ease her? And in that entire process, I think I started to mother her.
Naturally, right? Because she's not being able to take care of herself. So the roles become reversed, and you become the mommy.
Yeah, I mean, she was, in a way, she did give me a lot of comfort, because I would say that my mom gave me a lot of motherly comfort, but that she definitely needed that emotional support, which I'm not sure if I was able to give her, but I tried to give her.
So at this point, you are 19?
Yeah, I was 18 or 19, yeah.
So you have a brother who's 21.
Yes.
You have who has muscular dystrophy. You have mom who is suffering from depression. So, and how is your dad feeling through all of these things?
My dad is and was a very nice guy, like back then and now as well. But when you have an influence of family, sometimes you get carried away. So we had a lot of things going on back then, but he always supported me, and he was very fond of me. And he's still very
Everybody's
fond of me.
very fond of me.
No. I'm a very opinionated and strong woman. So he basically made a lot of, when he realized that, when I told him, I said, this is going on, you have to step up and you have to give that comfort to us. He did make that change. But what, a 22-year of marriage where you have felt insecure throughout, it's very difficult to give that comfort to that woman.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
It can only come from your kids after a point.
Yes.
And I figured that out pretty much, that the comfort can only come from me.
Yeah. So when did you meet, when you were doing your master's, is that when you met your husband?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was doing my master's from Ford School, and he was doing it from IIM Lucknow. I got an opportunity to go there for a festival. And
look how you light up when you talk about that.
Yeah, I love him.
So sweet.
And then you see that, there's, I just see this guy, who's the last man standing. Everybody else is drunk and, here and there somewhere. So we kind of bonded. We sat and we chatted. I didn't share my life, my life with him, but I shared all the fun parts. And we kind of bonded and we connected. I mean, we didn't start dating immediately. It took me like 6 months because he's short, and I'm like, I don't want a short guy. So it took me like 6 months to figure out that this is the guy, and we exchanged a lot of emails. But then I really started liking him, the way he talked and the way his EQ was never that high, but
I am. Come on.
But the way we connected,
Sarika, come on.
he really did understand me, and I love that about him.
Of course. And how long did you guys court?
2.5 years. Maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
So when did you decide that this was? When did you tell him about your family situation?
I didn't tell him so my brother passed away when we were dating, and
I'm so sorry to hear
he
that.
was in US, and he pinged me and he said, is everything okay? I heard something. And that's the time I told him about the situation, what I was in. And he was like, "Do you want me to come back?" And I'm like, "No, I don't even know if this relationship is going to go on, because you're in US and I have a lot of responsibility here, and maybe we should take a break, because I'm not going to leave my parents at this point." Because he was like, I knew he was pretty serious. And then he's like, "Okay, you take a break right now. You're not in your senses, and then we will connect later." And I was going through a world of emotions. I was severely depressed at that time because I lost my best friend. And then, things were like really falling apart in my world. So I said, let's take a break and let me think about it and let me get back to you.
Yeah. At this time, you have a mom who's lost her son,
A mom who's
a
lost
dad who's lost his, and you have two parents.
and they were like completely broken, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm the only person left. I used to really talk to my brother, but I don't have anybody to talk to right now. And my my extended family was, they're nice people, but everybody had their own things to do. So I mean, I didn't know what to do at that point, and I had to really fix my world and my parents' world, and then think about myself.
Right. So what happened then? Obviously you're here, so you must have decided to marry the short guy and come here, right? So you married, so what made you decide to come here?
So we always thought we'll go back, by the way.
Oh, okay. And how long have you been in the US?
18 years.
Okay. All right. So it's not common.
Every day we have a conversation, we are going back.
Okay.
But yeah, so my dad sat with me and he said, just move on. You need to move on, because he saw me that, I was getting sucked into, and my personality completely changed. I became very abrasive, and, it stayed with me for long. I became so direct, so abrasive. I lost trust in people, so.
But didn't you grow up extremely fast?
I have no recollection of my childhood. I have no recollection of my childhood.
Because you didn't really have a childhood, right? It was all responsibility.
So yeah, I mean, I would say that those few moments when I went out to play and all that, but yeah.
Wow. So when someone says to you that you are, and I'm going to come back to Sud, of course, but when someone says to you that you're abrasive or you're direct or you feel that way, it is what has happened to you, that you kind of grow up fast and you have to protect yourself, right? That's
but you have a need of getting validation every time, because when you're grown up with a special needs sibling, attention is on him, and you need that validation all the time. Okay, I need to do something so that my parents give attention to me. So that unfortunately stays with you, and you have to really work hard to get that out of your system. And I have worked very, very hard, and I think I'm in a place that I have no need at this point.
nice.
And second, I mean, there was a point where I felt I am more hated than I'm liked.
Really?
And I used to try and give justification that, but then I stopped. In a world of 7 billion, I just need 5 people to love me. If everybody else hates me, I'm okay with that.
And when did that self-confidence, that being you becomes you, when did that realization happen?
It's a process. It's a process you learn from your own experiences. I've had my own share of tough times. I've done my own mistakes. I've done my own blunders, and I've learned from them. But I would say in last 4 or 5 years, where I figured out that, this is who I am. I'm not going to change. I am a direct person. I am who I am. And if I change myself, I'm doing a disservice to myself. And the first thing, everybody says, like, if you want to like somebody, you have to like yourself first, right? I'm going to love myself first. And in that process, if I'm going to lose 5 people, might as well be. So there will be people who love me unconditionally, and I will find them somewhere. I found one. I found my husband. And how many people find that?
How many people find that?
How
really?
many people find that?
Yeah.
I've been very lucky, and I just count my blessings every day.
Yeah. But so now coming back to you moving with, you coming here, what convinced you to say, okay, I'm going to marry him and I'm going to move to the US and leave my parents?
Oh boy, that was a process. that me and my parents went through. My parents came to know about Sud, and Sud flew because my parents were looking for boys, and then Sud flew from US and he landed in my house like 4 a.m. And he said, I want to marry your daughter. And then I spoke to my parents and he said, do you like the boy? And I said, of course. And he's like, oh, he's very intelligent. My mom actually had a problem that he's very short. And she kept saying, oh, he's very short. She's going to have small kids. And I'm like, is that your only worry? And she's like, no. Then she said, I don't mind. You should go and live your life. We have lived ours and you've had enough. You just go live your life. And then Sard spoke to me and I was like, I just need one assurance that you will be like a boy, like a son to them. And he said, I can never be a son to them. I'm going to be as honest as I can.
Wow.
He said, but I will never stop you to do anything for them. And you will have my 100% support. And I was sold. I said, if somebody can be this honest to marry a girl, I'm sold. And I said, yeah, I'm done. I want to marry you. And then we came to US. He has been my rock since then.
Yeah.
I mean, we fight a lot.
Of course.
We fight like every second. I'll tell him, I don't want to see you today. Just go away. But oh my God. I think that whatever happened before, God compensated that completely. But I have no regrets in my life.
Wow.
With Sad, I mean, he is a gift wrapped from somewhere.
That's awesome.
I never show this to him, by the way.
I think that might be slightly difficult, but we will do our best, okay? You may want to just, I don't know, clip your own parts out of it.
Say, by the way, you don't have to see this.
Yeah. It's okay. You don't have to see it. But when you came here, in India, disability isn't so well accepted, right? When you came here, did you see people look at you differently? Did you see people kind of question things a little bit?
Yeah, all the time. There are people at my workplace, not this work. This company is very different, but in my previous company, people will say, oh, what happened to your hand? And I have to give them justification that what happened. But one thing I know, I never justified my hand. Never. I never had any complex about my hand.
And why? So there's a lot of people who have pimples on their face, right? And grow up with self-doubt and grow up with low self-esteem because of that. How is it that you compensate? What did you say to yourself? What is your dialogue to say to yourself that something that's isn't going to change?
When you are growing up with a sibling who's disabled, you learn to look down. You know that that's the worst. And then you'll start then you look at your arm, you say, oh my God, I'm so blessed. I have like 3 limbs that are working perfectly fine. And here is my sibling who is wanting, he would have been fine if his both arms weren't working and only his legs were working. So when you look down, your perspective changes, your thought process changes. I mean, this was never a disability for me. I used to tell my parents that this is not a disability for me. Stop thinking. I will find a boy for myself and I will get married. So I was very confident in my maybe I was very beautiful, maybe.
I love it. You are very beautiful.
Confidence.
But when there are days, I'm sure, when you're down.
Oh, there were many days when I'm down, when I doubt myself. There are people who would come up and tell me, oh, you're a snob. You don't talk good about people. I mean, or you don't talk right. Because I call spade a spade. Because when you've gone through so much in your life,
You don't have time.
You don't have time for fake people.
Yeah.
You will say, okay, somebody will say, I'm looking very beautiful. Okay, maybe this dress is looking very beautiful. So, sometimes you will say that and you will think like a man sometimes. So, I have had such situations and sometimes I will come and doubt myself and say, maybe I should change myself. But then I get back on track and then I say, no, this is just one life. You don't have to change for anybody. Just be who you are. And if you do right things, you will get right things in life. And honestly, I have been so lucky. I've been getting right things in life. I mean, I got a job I wanted. I have a passion which I want. And I have other extracurricular activities. I don't have many friends, but I have the friends. They will stand for me. They will back me up whenever, and they will live with my quirkiness.
Nice. And so when your kids were getting older, did they ever talk to you about your hand? Did you ever talk to them about it?
So my kids, first of all, when I was having my kids, I had a big scare because my brother's disease was a disease I could carry. Like a lot of people in India refused to marry me because when they
'cause you
heard
could be a
about my
carrier.
brother, I could be a carrier. So we had to explain everything to Sad before I got married. And then when I was having my kids,
He really loved you.
oh yeah. He
What's not
did.
to love?
What's not to love? But yeah, he did love me. When I think back, I didn't have that much of maturity back then. I was so absorbed in my own problems. But now when I look back, yeah, the guy has a heart of gold, clearly. Nobody can tolerate me except him, unconditionally. But yeah, then I was going through like genetic testing, and I was like, I didn't even know. I mean, with my son, until 5 months, I didn't know whether I'm going to have my kid or not. Because my test was sent and they were not conclusive. They said, we find something, but we don't know what it is. And then my doctor said, go for it. I don't see any risk. But that entire pregnancy, I didn't know what kind of child I'm going to
You
have.
must have been scared it.
I didn't gain any weight. I gained like 8 pounds in my entire pregnancy. 8 pounds. And my doctor kept touching the baby and said, this is all baby. You have nothing. Because I was so scared.
Wow.
But then, Asad was always so positive. He was like, no, this is going to be okay. You're totally fine. Everything looks okay. And I think maybe that kept me having like one kid and then the second kid. I was ready to have the third kid. I was ready to have the third kid as well.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's him, I would say.
Nice. But when the kids grew up, did they ever say, Mom, or when they have doubts? Because every child, and today's child is less resilient than we were. What is their dialogue with you? What is their dialogue with when they're going through the pimple stage, right? and I find that because that's a more common problem because you see it on your face. And everybody says, oh my God, I'm going through pimples. And what about, am I going to get a guy? Am I going to get a girl? That's the biggest insecurity people have.
So I have this thing that, you have to be very open with your kids. I sat down with my kids when they were 12 and my son recently, and I walked them through everything. Like I had a brother and he's no more. This is what I have. My kids never asked me what's wrong with your hand. And nobody asked me this at home. I think my kids were pretty sensitive. But when I told them about my brother and when I told them about what all has happened, I could see that they had that respect for me. I could see that my daughter, there was a time where I would go, I go to Gurudwara every year on my brother's death anniversary. And when my daughter was 13, I said, okay, I'm going to Gurudwara. And she's like, well, you go there every other week, but you look a little sad today. I was like, no, just like that. And she said, no, I'm going with you. Something is not right. So in the car, I told her that it's Chintu Mama's death anniversary. And she's like, I'm glad I came. And since then, she's been coming with me. No questions asked. Me and my mom, we never discuss or talk that day. We don't talk about him. We never take his name. His pictures are not there in my house because I don't think I'm over that. But she's very sensitive. She would come with me. And now my son has started coming because I told him last year. And then he had many questions and I patiently answered all his questions. And even if I'm crying someday, he'll just come and hug me. That's it. No questions asked. And that's how Sad has done.
Wow. So that's like a genetic trait the kids have.
Yeah.
As support.
I don't know about that.
the support factor turned out to be a genetic trait.
It comes from Sad.
It comes from Sad. Pretty nice. That's very nice. And now, so recently, you have started like your passion has taken its own life, right? So tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
So my mom is a great cook. She is like 1,000 times better than me. And I always saw my mom cooking and I used to help her out. And then of course, I used to cook at home, and all my friends used to say that, why don't you open a restaurant? I'm like, I don't see myself opening a restaurant. I don't see myself, running a shop, but I see myself following a passion. So they said, open a catering service. And I said, that's like very boring. So I said, how about I open a pop-up in my house and, serve a high fine dining experience. And then I did trial runs at my family. Of course, they are the guinea pigs.
Of course. Everybody's always like.
So, and my close friends, and they said, yeah, go for it. And I cannot explain, even if I am extremely tired, it's so meditative for me when I work in the kitchen. I forget all my problems. And that's been happening for 18 years. Whenever I used to feel sad about not being in India, I used to go in the kitchen and start cooking, and that was very meditative for me.
That's catharsis for you.
Yeah, exactly. That was like, I'm in my Zen state then. So I started doing that more and more often, and the appreciation I got from that, it was very fulfilling.
Yes. And what is your, it's called Spice Gully?
It's called Spice Gully.
Yeah, I see. I'm vegetarian, so a lot of times, the menu is not for me, but there are days when I've missed it.
I'm a meat eater.
Yeah, but the menu it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
The way you describe everything is so beautiful. And then when you do the presentation of the food, it's like, oh my God, like it's really fine dining.
Yeah, I wanted to become a chef. So I went to my dad and I told him when I came to US, because I did my another master's in US as well. So I went to my dad and I said, listen, I'm getting into New York Culinary School. I'm getting admission. I got admission. And my dad said, you want to become a cook? And I'm like, no.
So that's something a parent would always say, right? You become a cook?
That's more than a cook. I said, trust me, I can do wonders in this field. I'm really passionate about it. He's like, no, over my dead body. And I was like, okay, that's a strong statement. But he's like, I made you do MBA and all this for a cook. So my husband was like, go for it. This is your passion. I've seen you go for it. He's like, no. I cannot disobey my dad. No, even if I have kids, I can't do it. So I left my passion there and then. And then when I grew up, when my daughter grew up, I also grew up with her.
You grown up?
I don't know that. I'm still working
You're
on
still
it.
working.
So when my daughter grew up, she was I think 15, and she said, you have to follow your heart, because whenever I see you cook, you're so lost, you're so happy, just go for it. I said, okay.
Does the hand ever come in the way?
It does sometimes, but I've lived with it. It doesn't bother me. It bothers others. People will look at me sometimes that, oh my God. I recently went to a music show where I was getting a picture clicked with the musician, like with the singer. And the singer said, is something wrong with your hand? And I was like, yeah, it's by birth. And then I said, okay, now can I get a picture with you? So I've come to that point. It doesn't even bother me anymore, because it is basically nothing. There are people with much, much, much more problems in the world. This is not even a problem for me.
Doesn't that make you who you are? That's Sarika.
Yeah, there are a lot of other things that make me who I am.
So tell me about Sarika. What else makes Sarika Sarika? But you know what? Before we get to that, I want to talk to you about your parents now. Now your parents see you as a mom. They see you as a happy wife. They see you as a professional. They see you as someone who's following their passion. What state are they in, and how are they now?
My parents, I think, feel very blessed. They are in a very happy state. I mean, my mom's especially. Like, I really wanted to give a lot of comfort to my mom because, whatever said and done in India, when a child is handicapped, your mother suffers the most, right? Because she's in house, she's not able to work. So, but she's very proud of me. And that's where I get all my confidence and love from. Like, she's like, no matter what world is saying, I am so amazed what you have done in your life. And, with the background, Alka, I'll tell you a little bit that when I came into this country, I told Sad, I said, okay, I'm going to get admission in this school, but I don't understand how are they going to talk in English. My written English is still very poor, but it was really poor back then, and I had to really work on it. And I had a lot of complex. I said, I can't even write properly. And he's like, no, you go, you figure it out. You have to do this on your own. And I was an MBA student. I don't even know how I did that. I don't even know how I did my MBA. I have no idea.
Well, I think you may not give yourself enough credit.
No, but I know I'm not the best writer, and I had my own struggles. I had to really work through it. I had to really work my way.
So it's not as easy as it looks?
It's no, my journey has been really, really, really difficult. Like I remember that doing those, and Sad would not help me. Sad clearly said that, I can help you, but I don't want to. Because if you want to be something, you have to help yourself. And I mean, I can tell you, we had like numerous arguments, and we fought. I said, he's the worst husband. But if I look back, I think he did me a favor. Like, there were times where I even thought about maybe I should take like writing classes. Maybe I should talk about maybe communication classes. But I worked on my own, and I said, okay, I have to overcome this. And then there were like a lot of small hurdles. I got my first job in Kriti was 6 months.
Wow.
So, and I always had a burden because I had to financially take care of my parents as well. So I always wanted to work, and I was so independent that I never wanted to take a penny from Sad. So those things kept me going.
Because you had a goal.
I had a goal. I always have a goal in life, and that's how it keeps me going. I have a next goal also.
Well, what is your next goal? I want to know. What is your next goal?
You'll come to know.
I'll come to know. I think I know, but I'll wait for the formal announcement. But I think I know. So going back to your mom, what is she still going through depression?
No, so I brought her to US like 12 years back, and then we got her treated by a psychiatrist here, and because she needed that. When nobody can understand, I'm a mother now. I know that even if my child coughs, I am so worried. What she must have gone through, I can't even relate to her.
Yeah.
So we brought her, and that was idea given by Sir. Like, let's bring her here and let's get her let's get her counseled by So we did that. It really worked wonders, and she's perfectly fine from last 10 years. I mean,
knock on wood.
Knock on wood, I wish we did that before, but yeah, she is amazing. Like, we have like everyday conversations, and I sometimes feel, oh my God, we should have taken, I keep joking with her, we should have taken you to a shrink like 20 years back.
So you talk the same way to your mom too?
Yeah, and my daughter is like, initially she was appalled. She's like, oh my God, you and Nani has the best relationship. I wish I have that too. But we both have that too now.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarika. But for someone who is going through any adversity in life, and we all have different levels of adversity, right? Not everybody's going to have the same adversity. For somebody who's going through, what is your takeaway from it? What is it that you can tell the person, like you said, goals, like you always have a goal to achieve. What are some of the things that you would give advice to the audience over there?
So, I don't know. I mean, I would say that it's very difficult to put yourself in somebody's shoes. Their level of, disability or adversity can be really different, but mine is very minor. I don't even consider it as disability, or, I never thought it as a disability. But what I try to do is I never try to prove myself. I always try to see that how I can make my life worth with this, how I can live and make something good out of this. And I tell everybody that always look down in your life. People who don't have 2 hands but they have 2 legs, and people who don't have 2 legs, they have 2 hands. So
look at someone who has less than you.
Who has less than you? Yeah, everybody. Initially I used to really feel sorry for myself. I don't have this, I don't have that. But when I saw my brother, I mean, no. I mean, I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. I have a hand which is okay, but I've not missed out on anything in my life.
Yes, clearly. So with that, we're going to end this Soul Talks with Alka. Sarika Saxena is our force to reckon with. If you've not met her, exactly what she is, she came and she spoke. She's an amazing woman. And like she said, have a goal, look at people who have less, and always be thankful. Thank you for tuning in to Soul Talks with Alka. We'll be back with another episode. But if you like this episode, please like and subscribe and then share it with your friends. Again, you never know who is that one person you will touch. So please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you again.